In the golden heart of Los Angeles, where glass towers kissed the clouds and the world revolved around glitter, power, and headlines, lived Amara Steele, a woman who had everything the world could offer except the one thing that made it all worth having. At 42, she was one of the richest women in America, a self-made billionaire and CEO of Steele Luxe, a global beauty and fashion empire that redefined elegance. Every magazine cover worshipped her perfection, her diamond smile, her immaculate style, her flawless control. Yet behind the shimmering walls of her hillside mansion, she lived in silence, her laughter long forgotten, her heart slowly suffocating under the weight of success. Her home overlooked the city lights, but even those lights couldn't chase away the darkness that had grown inside her. Every morning she rose before dawn, surrounded by luxury. But there was no one to share her table, no voice to greet her, only the soft hum of machines and the faint echo of loneliness that no $1 billion could silence. She had conquered the business world, but in doing so, she had lost herself. And then one stormy night, fate brought her face to face with a man who had nothing, and yet everything she had been searching for. It was past midnight when her car stopped at a red light downtown, rain hammering the streets, thunder rolling over the sleeping city. Through the tinted glass, Amara saw him, a man huddled under a broken street lamp, soaked to the bone, holding an old guitar case with missing strings and a paper cup beside him. His name was Malik Turner. Once a promising jazz musician, life had dealt him blow after blow, until he had nothing left. No family, no roof, no stage, just the streets and the songs he sang to survive. But even drenched and shivering, there was a strange dignity in the way he sat. Not begging, not pleading, just quietly existing as if the rain belonged to him. When her car passed too close and splashed muddy water across his legs, she flinched. For reasons she didn't understand, she told the driver to stop. She stepped out into the rain, her designer heels sinking into puddles, and walked toward him. He looked up, startled, as this woman, radiant, polished, impossibly out of place, offered him her silk handkerchief. "I'm sorry," she said softly. He smiled, a small, tired smile that held no bitterness. "It's just water," he replied. That smile stayed with her long after she drove away. That night, for the first time in years, Amara couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about that man's calm eyes, that unshaken grace that even the storm couldn't wash away. The next day, she returned to that same street corner. Malik was there again, softly strumming his broken guitar, humming to himself. She bought 2 cups of coffee and sat beside him on the cold pavement, ignoring the stares of passers-by. "You came back," he said, surprised. "I couldn't stop thinking about your music," she lied, though what really haunted her was his peace. They talked for hours. He told her about growing up in South Central, about his mother who loved jazz and his dream to play at the Blue Room before it closed. She told him nothing about who she was, only that she once had dreams too. When she left, she secretly placed an envelope beside him. Inside was a small note that read, "Play again. The world needs to hear you," and a brand new guitar. From that day on, the sound of Malik's music began to echo through the downtown streets again. People gathered, videos spread online. His songs, filled with sorrow, faith, and hope, touched millions. And every evening, hidden in the back of the crowd, Amara listened, letting his voice pull her back to life. Weeks passed, and Amara couldn't stay away. One night after his performance, she approached him again and confessed who she was. Malik laughed softly. He said, "I figured. No one wears shoes like that unless they own half the city." That night, she invited him for dinner at her mansion. He hesitated, feeling the gap between their worlds, but hunger and curiosity won. The mansion looked like something from another universe. Glass walls, marble floors, a view that seemed to touch heaven. "You live here alone?" he asked quietly. "Always," she said. Over dinner, he noticed her hands, perfectly manicured, yet trembling when she reached for her glass. Beneath her flawless exterior was a woman exhausted by her own perfection. He told her she didn't need to prove anything to anyone. She told him he didn't need to hide behind humility. That night, they talked until dawn. She hadn't talked that freely in years, and he hadn't been listened to in just as long. Soon, their worlds began to intertwine. She hired him, not as charity, but as a composer for her brand's next global campaign. Her board was furious, accusing her of losing her mind, but Amara didn't care. She wanted his sound, raw, real, human, something her world had long forgotten. As Malik worked in her studio, the distance between them blurred. He filled her silent mansion with warmth and music. He made her laugh again, a real, unguarded laugh that echoed through the halls like sunlight breaking through glass. He taught her how to breathe again, how to eat street food without a fork, how to find joy in small things. And she, in return, showed him trust, that rarest of gifts. But their bond didn't go unnoticed. Whispers began. The tabloids caught glimpses of him leaving her home. Billionaire Amara Steele involved with a homeless musician. The story exploded. Her investors panicked, her stock dropped, and the world that had once worshipped her turned cruel. They mocked her. They called him a gold digger, a charity project, a scandal. But Amara refused to hide. She stood in front of cameras and said, "Yes, I know him. He's the first person who ever saw me for who I really am."
But the pressure was unbearable for Malik. He saw how her empire was crumbling because of him. "You have a world to protect," he told her one night. "I can't be the reason it burns." She pleaded with him to stay. "I don't care about the world," she said through tears. "I only care about you." But Malik shook his head. "You saved me when I was invisible. Now let me save you by walking away." He packed his guitar and disappeared into the city before dawn. The days that followed were hollow. Amara returned to her office, surrounded by flashing cameras and fake smiles, but nothing felt real anymore. Her home felt like a tomb. Every note of silence reminded her of him. For months, she threw herself into rebuilding her empire, but her eyes were empty, her laughter gone. She would drive through the old streets where they'd met, hoping to hear his music again. But he was nowhere. The world moved on, but she couldn't. Then one evening, while scrolling through social media, she froze. A live video had gone viral, a street concert in a small East LA park. There he was, Malik, performing again, surrounded by kids and families, his voice richer, stronger, filled with peace. The caption read, "The man who reminds us that music can heal anything." Without thinking, Amara drove there. When she arrived, he was finishing a song, one she had never heard before, about a woman made of glass who learned to feel again. Their eyes met across the crowd, and everything stopped. When he finished, she walked through the people, tears streaming down her face. "Why did you stop me?" she whispered. Malik smiled gently. "Because I thought you deserved better than a man with nothing." She stepped closer. "You were wrong. I just needed someone who could give me what money never could. Truth." The crowd around them began to cheer softly as he reached for her hand. That night, beneath the same street lamp where they first met, she kissed him. No cameras, no lies. Just the raw, unfiltered truth of two souls that had finally found home. Months later, at a charity gala, the world saw a different Amara Steele. Gone was the cold perfection. She arrived hand in hand with Malik Turner, now recognized as a celebrated musician whose songs raised millions for homeless outreach. When reporters shouted questions, "Are you really together?" she smiled and said, "Yes, because sometimes love finds you when you stop pretending to be unbreakable." The flash of cameras lit the night, but Amara didn't hide. Malik stood beside her, proud, calm, his arm around her waist. They had defied a world obsessed with class and image, proving that the worth of a person isn't in what they own, but in what they give. Together, they turned scandal into a love story that inspired millions. Her company recovered, stronger than ever, now built on authenticity instead of perfection. But the empire no longer defined her. Love did.
And in the quiet that followed, they returned often to that same downtown corner where it all began. Sometimes they played music for the crowd. Sometimes they just sat watching the sunset over the city. The billionaire and the once homeless man. Two broken lives mended by grace. In her mansion, laughter echoed again. In his music, joy bloomed again. They had learned that wealth could buy walls, but love, true, fearless love, builds bridges. And as Malik's final song played into the golden dusk, Amara leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, "You were never the man with nothing. You were the man who gave me everything."